masculinity is demonized in America, and our boys are becoming more and more effeminate, or they're marginalized as outcasts. What dangers do you see with this current trend, and what can we do to change it?
I see lots of dangers. It's masculinity that is the other half of the man-woman relationship that is needed for everything from safety and protection, whether it be being a warrior or going to war for your country.
Didn't you just perform a wedding ceremony not too long ago?
Mm-hmm.
You remember what you said about man and woman and their places in the marriage,
right?
And
yeah,
it's pretty specific, on what a man's job is,
right?
And it's gone away from that.
Well, the word is toxic masculinity, and which is, it's just so. I mean, we were just talking about socialism and the whole progressive movement. It's the godless movement, and that's all. Everything they do is destroying everything that's Christian, that's freedom, that's our culture, and now they're trying to take down men and masculinity, which is sometimes maybe a little more aggressive. Why do you see men in boxing rings and in cages fighting? It's because they love it.
Yeah,
it's something they enjoy. It's because they're man. There's a side of a man that's a hunter, a gatherer, a protector. Yeah. That's what God instilled in us, and to try to take that away and make us all be like women. I mean, what are you trying to? What are they even thinking?
Yeah, it takes away our identity.
Yeah, and it takes away our culture. It takes away everything, really. I mean,
well, I could a lot of churches are getting so effeminate. Many sermons I listen to, and I look at the pastor up there, I'm like, this guy is so effeminate. I can't stand listening to him. And then people think that anybody who goes to church is some effeminate little, that you could almost get teased now if they see you with your Bible, because people associate the Bible with a bunch of effeminate wussy boys.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's kind of sad. And if they only knew the stories of David's men here, here's an example here. So David waxed greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. This is 1 Chronicles 11, chapter 9, or chapter 11, verse 9. Verse 10 says, "These are the chief of the mighty men whom David had, who strengthened themselves with him in his kingdom, and with all Israel, to make him king according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had." Now, I'll stop and talk about that word mighty a little bit. It didn't say effeminate. Mighty is the total opposite of effeminate. These guys, as we're going to find out here, were very masculine. They were tough. And these kinds of men that were in David's army would totally offend these wimpy, effeminate pastors today, because they don't measure up, and they would be they should be ashamed of themselves, really, quite honestly. Because check this out. And this is the number of the mighty. Okay, let me see here. Verse 11. "And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had: Jash-Obim and Hakamite." I'll do the best I can with these names. Yeah. "The chief of the captains." Now check this out. "He lifted up his spear against 300, slain by him at one time." Now these are the heroes of the Bible.
Right.
These are the heroes that our children should be looking up to. You got David, obviously. We know he slew the giant. So you don't get much more masculine than that. He was
as a young boy.
As a young boy, even, yeah. But here you got this guy that slew 300 with a spear at one time. I don't know if that was one battle or what that was. I mean, it didn't look down at that as, oh, that's toxic.
He's too aggressive.
Yeah, too aggressive. That's toxic masculinity.
He should have just wounded him.
This is put in here as an achievement.
Right.
Something great. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, who was one of the three mighties. So one of the three mighties. Oh no, we just categorized them as being in the top three. The other guys are going to have their feelings hurt.
Yeah. I think they're going to try harder.
They're going to need some counseling.
Yeah, they're going to need. Yeah. Oh, why didn't I make it? 13. He was with David at Pas Dammon, and there the Philistines were gathered together in battle, and were a parcel of ground full of barley, and the people fled from before the Philistines. And they set themselves in the midst of that parcel and delivered it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord saved them by a great deliverance. All right, so there's all these great guys. I'm going to try to just get a couple more examples of some of these guys.
While you're looking for that, I was just thinking while you're reading that if it wasn't for toxic masculinity, we'd probably all be speaking German right now. I mean, think of the great men and the warriors in World War II, or, pick any of the battles.
Yeah.
But specifically World War II, because there was literally a horrible dictator that was trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
And if the progressives and the godless people in our country had it their way, we wouldn't even have been able to go to battle with them, because it's that what they call toxic masculinity that we were able to win that battle.
Right.
Because there was brave men that were willing to die and willing to fight and willing to push past some of the most horrible things you can imagine. And you couldn't do that if you were effeminate and too soft and all emotional. And so that's my point is thank God for toxic masculinity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it wasn't for toxic masculinity, David would have never slain the giant.
Right.
And on and on the list goes. We wouldn't have freedom in America. We'd all be slaves, and life would be horrible. Then he goes on here and he says, let's talk about these three mightiest that were with them. And in verse 20 it says, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, he was chief of the three. For lifting up his spear against 300, he slew them and had a name among the three. And of the three, he was more honorable than the two, for he was their captain, howbeit he attained not to the first three. So now it's using terms like honorable with this guy.
More honorable.
Yeah, more honorable because of his masculinity. Today he would be less honorable, dangerous, mean, too aggressive, like you were saying. Let's see. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, verse 22, the son of a valiant man, that's a very masculine man there, of Kabziel, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. Also he went down and slew a lion in a pit in a snowy day. I mean, these are things to look up to. These are things that our boys should be looking up to. Our young boys should be looking at these men as they were courageous, they were bold, they were strong. And he slew an Egyptian, a man of great stature, 5 cubits high. And in the Egyptian's hand was a spear like a weaver's beam. And he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. I mean, this is just beautiful stuff. I guess I shouldn't use a feminine word there.
Yeah.
This is
well, you should.
And then it says, these things did Benaiah the son of Jehoiada. He had a name among the 3 mighties. Behold, he was honorable among the 30, but attained not to the first 3. And David set him over the guard. And it keeps talking about these mighty men of valor and what they did. And it's a shame.
I mean, obviously there's going to be men that can't control their temper and do some really stupid things and heinous things, but that's the exception. That's not those people should be punished and put in prison, and I think that these people that are against masculinity just try to lump us all in the same category, with these horrible people that are, maybe beating their spouse or, doing things that are super aggressive and that would be a toxic masculinity, if anything. But
Yeah, that would be toxic.
where you take your power and your strength and you use it over someone in an evil way.
Right.
That's evil. That's wrong. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater and say all masculinity is bad.
Yeah, that would just be murder or hate. It's not. God doesn't classify it as toxic masculinity.
Right.
It would just be a violation of His commandments.
Exactly.
Yeah. And a woman that, like Jezebel, she could commit many heinous. She committed many heinous acts. And that was, so it's not, it's the evil nature. It's not masculinity that's the problem. It can be, femininity can be the problem. You can have great atrocities committed by that spirit. So, yeah, I mean,
there is, if you're looking at that, you could. There was one of the talk shows I listened to. They did a little experiment on. And they asked a bunch of women a bunch of questions to see if there's such a thing as toxic femininity. Yeah. And it's basically, when they think that men use their strength and their power to dominate, people or women or lesser people. Well, it's the same thing. Women have power too. And there's a lot of women that use that power to get their way with men or to be deceptive or... So my point is that there's good and bad in both things. A beautiful, feminine woman that's soft and emotional, and not in a bad way, and a strong man that's a protector, and those are two beautiful things. But both of them could be thrown out of or used in the wrong way.
Yeah, but if they're used in the right way, they really complement each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I do think that, a masculine man with does need a good woman like that at times to make sure
Balance
he's not
exactly
overly masculine and, controlling his manliness,
Right. And
using it in the right way.
That's why God designed it so perfectly.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, is it dangerous? I would say definitely, because if we weaken all of our men into effeminate wimps, who's going to fight our battles? Who's going to have the courage to stand against evil from within?
Right.
So you'd have nobody to protect. Who's going to stand up in our churches and make sure that Satan doesn't take over our churches without a masculine spirit, standing up there and saying no, or whatever?
Yeah, Satan isn't going to get rid of his evilness and his aggressiveness. Mm-hmm. So we need to stand strong as men.
Right. There's a scripture in the New Testament where Jesus says that the enemy Satan, I can't remember the exact scripture, but he said Satan will try to bind the strong man first so that he could spoil his house. Yeah. So in other words, if you take away the masculine man, you can do great damage to the
culture.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening.
Did you see in the Oscars, one of the trends, I don't know how many of them did it, but I saw at least one picture of a guy or some men wearing dresses.
Oh, really?
Like beautiful dresses.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I saw those pictures.
Yeah.
I tried to make myself throw up, but I couldn't.
And the godless progressive left were applauding him. It's so beautiful that he's just...
My wife turned it on for about 20 minutes, and I said, "Get it off the TV. I can't watch this anymore." I mean, it was horrible.
It's just gross.
Yeah, the commercials.
Who's that little black guy that's a director? Got glasses, and he's a racist.
Spike Lee.
Yeah. What a racist.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I don't understand why it has to be like this. What's the difference if it's... He had a movie out, The Black Panthers, and then there's another movie out about... it's a lot of black things happening in the movies.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I've never been a racist that way. I mean, I don't care, but they care. And they're trying to make it so, that's the thing now. Black is the thing.
Which is a different topic, but yeah.
I understand it's a different topic, but I'm just saying it's...
I know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, you started with the dresses, and that.
Well, yeah, the Oscars.
The Oscars in general. I went to the place I didn't want to go. I didn't even want to see the Oscars, to be honest. Why do they need rewards for their millionaire lifestyle?
Yeah.
I got an award for being the best actor. Well, yeah, that's okay, but I don't care.
Yeah, I know. I never watch that stuff. Once in a while, I'll watch it just so I know what's going on and how wicked and how wild it is. So, but
years ago, it used to be they'd get up there and say, "I'd like to thank God." Never one of them said anything like that. You know, years ago, I remember if you'd watch an award show, "I'd like to thank God first," and that was cool. But it never happened the whole time we were watching. But I said, "Turn it off. I can't watch it anymore." But they never speak about God once.
Yeah.
They use the OMG a lot.
Yeah, use his name in vain,
yes.
Right? Yeah, that's
I can't believe it. Oh, my.
Yeah. Oh, that drives me crazy.
All the way up there, and they're all saying it. And it just drives it. Yeah, you're right. I'm off subject. Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, I was gonna say something tied to that. Oh, yeah. Another thing you keep seeing in when you're watching TV these days, the commercials. They're always showing effeminate men on these commercials now.
Well, and in the TV series, and the shows.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the TV, it's just...
and that's why, like, the Last Man Standing with Tim Allen is such a success, but they kicked him off of the original network because he was too masculine, and he's like a man's man, and he's, has conservative values and God values, and... even though it was so successful, they got rid of him in whatever network it was, ABC or something.
Because the women were.
I like that title.
Yeah, well,
Last Man Standing.
Now Fox picked them up, and they're one of the biggest shows going. And when you watch it, it's just great because he's just a man's man, and he's, it's the way it should be. Their family and the way it functions, and it's just a great show.
It is.
But it is. There's very few of those. Is my point.
Yeah.
So when there is one, of course, right away they try to destroy it. Mm-hmm. They tried to get rid of it.
Just like Trump, they're trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, and he's real. He's real masculine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great thing. He may not be a perfect guy, obviously, but it at least our youth can look at him as the guy. He works hard. He's diligent to achieve his goals, and he's
willing to fight back.
He's willing to fight. He's a good masculine role model in that respect.
Right.
Maybe not the best Christian example, but as a fighter and not a limp wrist.
Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching.